After signing the document that would unite his life with a millionaire 3 times his age, the young man, who in the eyes of others was nothing more than a self-serving, soulless man more concerned with money than true love, was nervous in his new wife's bedroom when she told him to wait in the bathroom while she prepared for their wedding night. A few minutes later, when she ordered him to leave, he was at a loss for words as he watched her listen to what Claudia had to say. Orphaned at the age of 10, he had been forced to wander the streets in search of someone willing to lend a helping hand and offer him work to feed himself, and under looks of scorn and rejection, even from those who knew his situation well, he ended up in another town where he was finally taken pity on by a kind and humble man. Seeing him so haggard, dirty, and evidently hungry, he offered him drink and food and set him up in his home. Herman was an experienced farmer and lived with his wife and their only daughter of nearly the same age in a small but very comfortable house among the vast fields in which they worked daily. When they learned of the tragic situation that had forced young Claudio to leave their town, they decided to take him into their permanent care and accept him as another member of their family. The next week, they enrolled him in the same school their daughter attended, insisting on paying him back in some way for what they had done for him. In the afternoons, Senior Herman would take him out to help with the harvest and teach him how to work the land. Fernanda, the daughter of a generous family, and Claudio became really great friends from the moment he arrived in their home. As they grew up and reached adulthood, they realized that the feelings binding them together were deeper than they had ever imagined. Always convinced that they were made for each other, Claudio promised his girlfriend to talk to her parents, to not only confess his feelings, but also to ask for her hand in marriage, considering that the man was in good health, although for the past few months he had been plagued by terrible back pains that left him unable to stand on his feet. Instead of getting better, Mr. Herman seemed to be getting worse and worse. His wife also fell ill with severe pneumonia, requiring transfer to a hospital in the capital. Fernanda had to accompany her, leaving Claudio to take care of the household and her father the day after she left. They received an unexpected visit from the powerful Magnolia, a billionaire who owned most of the land cultivated in the region. Don't you realize how much money is lost because of the drop in production due to your fault? Yes, it is entirely your fault that you have lost dozens of crops, and some of them have already withered, the old lady said angrily, demanding that they pay what they were owed. Otherwise, she said, they would have no choice but to leave the land immediately, handing them a bill for a large sum of money. They had not even a quarter of it. After explaining their situation and saying they had no money, Mrs. Magnolia ordered him to leave without any pity, and then got into her car, desperate to realize how hard her parents and his beloved Fernanda had worked for these lands. It meant everything to them. Claudio begged them with a heavy heart to give him at least a month to collect everything they owed. I'll take care of the harvest myself, which means I'll pay every penny. The old woman looked at him in a way that sent shivers down his spine. I agree, but on one condition. If you don't get it done within a month, you'll have to marry. I will, and only then will I let them live on my property. With a knot in his stomach, Claudio agreed to the bargain. In the days that followed, he assigned one of the maids to care for Senior Herman so that he himself could tirelessly do the sitting. Soon Fernanda returned with his convalescing mother, knowing what was happening and seeing the efforts he was making to save him. Full of love, she began to help him as best she could, feeding him and making sure he didn't exhaust himself too much. Claudio was close to getting his way, but after a month he still lacked the small sum to cover the whole debt, though he asked for another week to get it all. Miss Magnolia resolutely refused, demanding that he fulfill the contract. Until that day, Fernanda and her parents knew nothing of the other part of the deal. The young woman burst into tears when she saw him and the old woman heading toward the courthouse, where a judge was waiting for him, ready to sue her for reaching out when everyone else had turned their backs, even if it meant abandoning the woman he truly loved. Claudio married Miss Magnolia without resistance. "You may go," the older woman said, asking him to stay in the bathroom while she prepared for the wedding night. Claudio didn't know what to do. He stood in front of her as if paralyzed. When he saw her, surprised, he asked the elderly lady, comfortably dressed in pajamas and slippers, making the young man speechless. "I must say I'm very proud of you, because today you have shown me that there are still selfless people who can love with all their soul and sacrifice everything for their loved ones." Then, inviting him to sit next to her and enclosing him in a warm embrace, Ms. Magnolia explained to Claudio that he couldn't help but love. Magnolia explained to Claudio that being very ill, she would soon pass away. She could have no children, so she was looking for a worthy man to inherit her lands and decided to leave them to Mr. Herman and his wife. But then she realized that they were no longer able to take care of them. The day she saw his determination, wanting to test it, since Fernando was absent, she said, "You are a strong and honest man with a big heart. I am sure you will make her very happy, and I know you will take care of my lands and keep them prosperous just as I have done." Claudio and Fernanda were married shortly after the death of Mrs. Magnolia, who spent her last days in communion with her God. These days, they have both managed to take the molds to a higher production level, and while some still condemn Claudio and Fernanda, those who know the real truth admire what he was able to do for the love of his family. Sometimes life circumstances are not what they seem. Often we rush to judgment without knowing how things really were. Let's not be quick to point fingers or judge someone, because we don't fully realize the emotional damage we may be doing. If you like the stories on our channel, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and put a bell to be the first listeners of another new story. Good luck and come back. It will be interesting.